As you know, the Meat Eater Live Tour is on April 23rd through May 5th. Chances are in a town near you. What you may not know is you can win tickets to each of these events just by going to a backcountry hunters and anglers pint night. There's going to be a pint night in each of these towns: San Diego, Salt Lake City, Tempe, Anaheim, Boise, Sacramento, Missoula, Portland, Tacoma, where you can compete in Meat Eater trivia and win not only tickets to the show, but a chance to be on stage with all of us. So get your butt to a pint night, and we'll see you on stage.
Hey, I'm KC.
And I'm Tyler.
And you're listening to
The Element Podcast.
and Road Noise.
What's happening, people? We're driving through the mountains right now, heading to do some hunting. Actually, KC's driving. I'm sitting passenger in the buck truck, which is just this beautiful, glorious machine, Chevrolet machine that carries bucks around, scares them to death. We actually have a new Instagram page set up for the buck truck, so you can follow that at Element Buck Truck and see what the buck truck's up to. The buck truck actually makes these posts, and so you can see him talk about himself. He's got a pretty funny sense of humor.
He's a transformer, I think.
That's pretty popular these days.
Have you ever? Yeah, I know. Have you ever met anybody with the last name Ford?
Ford?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you ever met anybody with the last name Dodge?
Yeah.
Ever met anybody with the last name Chevrolet?
No.
What's up with that?
It's exclusive, man.
Just less French people out there, I think.
I guess that's it.
I bet you there's a lot of Chevrolet owners that don't want to admit that their truck has a French name.
Man,
Guarantee you that's
that
the
hurts,
case.
man. That's why I call them Chevys.
They call them Chevys. They sound more American.
I got a couple stories, actually. There was a guy named Bluford one time that was the manager of this
That's
property.
already funny.
He managed this property that we were going to turkey hunt, right?
Yeah.
And he was going to come out and show us the place before we kind of drove around
manager?
on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's out in West Texas. I kid you not, Bluford shows up driving a blue Ford with blue jeans and a blue jean shirt on and has a blue healer. And that is Bluford. What are the chances, man?
Pretty good.
You think?
Yeah.
You think?
I think it's pretty good.
Is his name actually Bluford?
People embrace that stuff, dude. You ever met a guy named Rusty?
No way.
He is rusty and dusty and drives a red truck and has rust spots on it.
Dude, my dad's cousin's name is Rusty. He ain't driving no rusted truck.
Well, he just hasn't fully embraced what he is yet, man. He'll get there one day.
You ever met a guy named Red?
I have.
Is he red?
He's a panda.
He's not in here to defend himself.
He ain't very good at that anyways.
Oh, have you ever met? Who's the Dodge person you met?
Mick Dodge.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
And
you know who Todd Dodge is?
He's a coach.
My dad's friends with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a A&M linebacker named Mike Dodge, I believe.
Not Mick.
Not Mick. But
Mick Dodge is cool, man.
I know, dude. He's like
Just want to live like that.
I know, man. Barefoot.
Actually, you know what?
Eating
He's still
banana
alive
slugs.
today. He's changed his celebrity profile into a guy named Liver King.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've seen him.
Just had added a little bit more just fake testosterone into there.
Just a slight bit, but Mick Dodge is pretty stout, dude.
I bet, dude. Here's the deal, man. You live like a wild man. You don't get abs, but you get some strength about you.
Yeah, you get just this hard gut, man. That's like ready to go, man.
You don't have to like power clean 185 25 times in a row. You have to move a log once.
That's right.
You know what
Mick.
I mean? Like that's
if you
why
want to find the mushrooms, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you got to do.
That's why the Bible talks about strength in the girded loins. Like it's where you can't be ripping your loins. Like get a strong loins.
No, man, you see them guys that get groin strains in football. That's receivers, by the way. That's receivers. Only receivers get groin strains.
Everybody likes to make fun of quarterbacks of being like the little, the wimpy ones. No, dude, it is the wideouts for sure.
You ever seen a little hackberry on a fence line? That's what a receiver's built like.
Yeah, they blow over in the wind for sure.
They're a lot prettier though. They wear their socks higher too.
I don't know, man. Old Randy Moss, he's pretty tough guy.
I like him, man.
Yeah,
I like him. There's a few receivers that are tough, but not anymore.
No, not anymore. I don't know, dude. Cheetah, he's kind of tough.
Cheetah?
Yeah.
You talking about little guy? What's his name?
Number 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
kind of tough.
Is he? I don't know, man. I think tough is relative.
Definitely relative to the generation you play in.
Yeah.
Because T.O. was soft for his day, and he would whoop these guys.
Dude, he
nowadays.
still does. Have you seen him training and stuff?
I know, dude. He's huge.
Ridiculous.
Oh, is this a deer hunting podcast? Golly.
No, this is football.
Let me relate this to something. So, who's the greatest football player to ever live?
Man, that's just not good.
I'll give you a hint. He played football at Auburn.
Cam Newton.
No. Played running back.
By the way.
Also played outfield.
Cam Newton and Clay Newcomb are the same guy, if you didn't know, according to Brian Bostic.
Yeah.
You talking about the greatest athlete or greatest NFL player, football player?
Well, I'm not talking.
I think he's the greatest athlete of all time. I'm not sure about football, though.
Greatest stats of all time. I'm just talking about the best guy to ever step foot on the field.
I don't know. I think as far as I just don't consider Bo Jackson to be the greatest football player of all time.
I do.
I consider him to be the greatest athlete of all time.
Which makes you the best football player.
Does it?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't, because there are dudes that run 4.2s every year in the NFL and don't catch anything hardly.
That doesn't mean they're a good athlete if they run 4.2.
Yeah, it does.
This means they can go straight line.
It means they're a good athlete.
No.
Yeah. Athletes and football players are different.
It's true, Piglet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a square and a rectangle.
But Bo Jackson, he's an interesting character, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like the perfect mix of like cocky, but also has humility in a weird way, right?
Yeah.
So he is very aware of how good he was, right? So
yeah, he is. My dad went on a duck hunt with him one time.
That, dude.
Yeah, he said he was there with, I can't remember his coach, but he was there with a coach that he like the whole time he was just concerned about his coach, and he helped him get in and out of the boat, and like he's kind of older guy,
Yeah.
and like made sure he had something to eat, and like just took care of him the whole time, like a super humble type of guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely confident in his abilities, which were greater than most men.
Yes.
If not all men.
That's the reason he injured himself. He was so powerful he pulled his own hip out of his socket.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's wild.
That's called knee drive right there.
Yes. So Bo Jackson, in describing himself as a high school player, he said he didn't work out. He said he ran through the woods. He was as fast as a deer.
Yeah, he did, and he did like bodyweight push-ups.
Yeah.
He did like 300 a day or something.
So that's I always thought that was cool that Bo Jackson wanted to, like, his way of equating what kind of a athlete and human he was that he was as fast as a deer. I thought that was really neat, and could jump like one too.
You ever heard of the people who run deer into the ground pretty much?
Yeah, those people in Africa.
Yeah, they just
they win marathons.
A deer is faster than a human, but if you stay after it like all day, a human can actually endurance a deer. From what I understand.
Depends on the human, I would imagine.
Oh, definitely. There's some people in that convience store earlier that definitely weren't out endurancing any deer.
Well, they had enough stored energy to make it happen. That's the problem, dude.
That's what Eric's working on with his new diet.
That's it.
The energy, endurance.
What's it called? The energy potential's high, but the kinetic energy is kind of low. You know?
I thought kinetic was potential energy.
Kinetic is energy at work. I guess it's static energy. Greg, do you know that? What the two
is
forms
kinetic energy potential energy, or is it different?
I have no idea.
Greg says he has no idea. Greg's brother would know. Greg's an artist. His brother's an engineer. So their powers combined.
Their powers combined, they make the Bo Jackson of the world.
That's right. So, anyways, yeah. So it's about deer. right?
Yeah. Well,
It's,
you're doing a good. This is a good segue.
It
right
is.
here,
And
dude.
Bo Jackson actually hunts deer.
Yeah.
He has a unique accent too. But he likes to elk hunt a lot, actually.
Does he?
Yeah. And
He just
builds his own arrows and does the thing, man.
He probably does that whole Cam Haynes, throw it over your shoulder after he shoots an elk and just take it out
I
of
think
the
he
woods.
just throws it to the truck. He just picks it up and hurls it. Because that dude's probably 62 or 3 now and would just own me and everything. So, anyways, we are going deer hunting. It is, right now when we're recording this, one of the most stupendous days of the year.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
To be a deer.
Especially if you're a deer.
So, especially if you're a male deer, because you're like, finally!
Finally. It's breed
But
season.
That's why we all like it, man, because they get dumb. And it's the rut, guys. It's here. It's November 1st. When we're recording this, probably come out a few days later. Before we get into this, I do want to tell you about a few things. One of which is we actually did some pre-rut hunting in Texas on public land, and we're wildly successful with a good bit of unsuccess involved in there.
We'll figure it out.
If you are a Texas BHA member, then you're going to think it's super successful because we hung in the stand, I took selfie saddle pictures, and
You got more.
saw deer.
You got more pictures of deer than
That's right.
normal
That's
for
right.
those types.
No,
huh?
we really did have a good hunt though. Just shot a giant boar and also flung an arrow at a big old buck and saw a bunch more bucks. So
We ended up finding a pretty good spot for old pre-rut hunting.
Probably some of the best Texas public land hunting I've done, and that's saying something because I've done a lot of good Texas public land
That's
hunting.
right. That's right, man.
I was actually very elated at that, and that video is going to come out this week. And I just pretty much need all you to go tell me what you would have done differently. Go tell me what you would do.
You don't have to employ people to do that.
I need our listeners to tell us what they had done differently.
There you
because,
go.
Our non-listener group will tell us they should have been shooting an adult arrow and stuff like that. So we saw the adult store, which is I think where you buy
That's
adult
where you buy
arrows.
arrows and broadheads too.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah,
So I didn't know that Troy opened that store up here in North Texas, but I think there's a few scattered around. But I think it's buyer beware. So
That's right.
just know.
I wouldn't. I would suggest for sure just making sure
Thankfully, I don't have to stop.
before you go in.
Yeah.
If there ain't windows there, it might not be a broadhead and arrow
Might be a
store.
Jehovah's Witness building. You never know, man.
Killing it.
Dude, how do they buy buildings and brick the windows up?
Yes, they do.
Or do they build them that way?
No, they're pretty much the same as Amish, aren't they? They can do a lot of things like that. They're handy.
That's right.
I think.
Yeah.
Are they the same guys that have those little cars in the fairs and they drive around with the hats, weird hats?
What are those guys?
What are those?
I don't know.
I don't either.
The North Star or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Dude, secret societies weird me out. I ain't into that.
Don't worry. There's one called Washington D.C. It's a secret society affair.
Yeah. So it's not what's
the weirdest of
what's
all.
not a secret is that they exist. What is a secret is why we keep letting them exist. But
Power, dude.
That's
Power.
it. That's it, man. Well, we did that. Did some saddling. Greg and I hunt together a lot, and we tend to hunt on the ground a decent amount. But what always ends up happening is when we get in a tree, we get all comfortable in our cruiser saddle, get nestled in there, and then we actually see deer. So
Nested.
it's funny how that works. We even so Greg has gotten good at remembering his saddle, which is nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, now he's got a new platform to check out and hang out with.
It's well, the problem is that it's smaller, so it can get misplaced
That's
easier.
right.
But the better thing is now we have 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if y'all don't know, Cruiser just came out with Seeker Mini, which is like a smaller platform that even if you got big feet, it works pretty good. I actually really liked it. Look at this sideways trailer going down the road right here.
Oh,
that's as sideways as I've ever seen.
That is a mind warp.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
That guy's going hunting, I guarantee you. He looks like a hunter. go check that out if you are in the market for a new platform or you like to expand your repertoire in the saddle world. I know if you're a saddle hunter, you're like, something new to mess with. But, okay, they're actually really cool. I enjoyed mine. I'll use it quite a bit going forward this season. And you should check that out. I like to put a little paint job on them. Tyler likes to leave his the color of the sky. Either way, you can kill big deer. So go check those out. Did you use yours this past week in Illinois?
I did. I used it one day, I think. We all only used it one day, right?
Yeah, well, that's it. We got them that day, and then crazy things happened that night.
They're called the Mini Seeker. I think you said Seeker Mini, not that it matters, but it's it's a smaller platform than the original Seeker that Cruiser had, which I like. You can stand on it and do things with it. But as far as I know, there are certain people. KC's one of these, and I know some other people that I do respect that really are about having a super light, tiny platform.
You know, mine is less about the lightweight. I like that it feels considerably lighter, but I like it because the wider platform is sometimes hard to fit in the hole in the tree that I'm trying to put a platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that you gave me the gray eyes like you were surprised I said that?
No, I just don't. I don't know if I've had that problem really.
I've had that problem a decent amount because like you're trying to set up like in
set it above the branches,
the crotch of a tree or in the branches or whatever. Well, if you set it too high, then you just don't get your eyes in the hole that you want it to be, and then you got to let your rope out longer.
Listen, he's not in the truck to defend himself, but Eric had one of those deals. One of his deals, you know,
his ordeals,
ordeals, where he had a direction he wanted the platform to go, but he couldn't. He couldn't get over where he wanted it to be. And I kept telling him, it was the first morning. I was like, you're going to have to move that up. It's not going to open up because it was in the crotch of a tree like that, you know. It's like it's not going to open up. He did it. He said it like the third time he finally understood what was going on. He kept setting it, locking it down, and he'd flip it out, and it would go like literally not even 45 degrees out. I'm like, dude, you got to move it up or move it around, you know.
Yeah.
So he didn't like me where I wanted it, where I thought it should be. And so he was trying to make it different, and then it ended up pretty close to where
he did that with me in Oklahoma last year. Spent like 45 minutes trying to change it, and then decided, it was better the way it was.
So, y'all, if Eric wasn't having those issues, we would kill even more deer, man. So,
dang, that speedometer thing's wrong. I ain't going that fast. Anyways, we are going to go do some chasing around on some public ground here, maybe some little private ground, little permission property, and just try to have a good rut, man.
Gosh, Drew would make fun of you.
Why would he make fun
permission,
of me?
Man? He doesn't like it.
Oh, I don't have I don't have that good like he does. You know,
no, that's right, man.
So I can't call it that.
A breadwinner.
That's it, man. I have to just beg and just use all my tactics.
Yep.
The cold call tactic, you know.
Y'all think we think about deer tactics all the time? We're actually thinking about other tactics like how to make money for once in our life.
So we've done this quite a bit out of state, but you get on Onyx and you look at landowner names.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can even get an address. And I found that Onyx is pretty good about having it right.
Yeah.
Because, like, you can get on these other things like Nuber and different places and get, like, addresses, and a lot of times they're, like, a couple back from when the people moved or whatever. But usually if there's an address on Onyx that's listed right, you can go door knock or find a phone number associated and
we call those knockerheads.
Yeah,
people that door knock.
Yeah, I am a knockerhead for sure.
Actually, you call them knockerheads, right?
Depends. It's a loggerhead turtle. And, depends on the day.
That's just one of the best, dude.
Yeah. And you can get some pretty good permission in some of these places, man. You just got to have your spiel together. You got to be about what you're about, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the best way to get a permission is to be completely frank and honest about who you are with the people and with yourself. Don't beat around the bush. Tell them you're trying to go hunting, and just be real nice. If you're nice, if you're not nice, don't be nice, and see how that goes for you. You might learn how to be nice after all that.
Reminds me of my dad with the cops when he gets pulled over.
Yeah,
like if you'd have just been nice, he might have given you a warning.
I doubt it, dude.
Probably not.
Probably not.
You don't like cops either, do you?
I don't like establishments. How's that sound?
Yeah. It's not the cops.
Yeah. I think that there's just a bunch of misled people in this world, man.
Yeah, well,
That's the way it goes.
I think that's true.
Yeah, I got to watch out because
There's a lot of cops listening.
our buddy TM, he got on me the other day because I was talking about wildlife departments.
Oh, dang, gotcha.
He did, dude. He sent me a text like, "Come on, man." I said, "Yeah, text me on your personal phone and let me know how you really feel."
For real.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I hear you on that, man.
But anyways, guys, if you don't have you some Onyx, you need to get you some Onyx because it's literally the most used tool that I have. And I don't do that because they give me a line to say and like, hey, say this on your podcast. It's the truth. Like, straight up, probably looked at Onyx before I went to sleep last night and looked at it while I was on the toilet this morning. So, and I've already been to where we're going, like probably, I don't know, 20 years.
So you know what's becoming one of my most used apps now outside of Onyx is the Moultrie app, Moultrie mobile app.
Yeah.
It's almost like you got to temper your addiction. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because it's pretty fun to open up your app in the morning and see what came in last night.
I kind of like it because it keeps me off social. So,
yeah.
You know, like I've gotten to where I check it when I first wake up in the morning because it's more fun for me just to see what deer are doing than it is to see what, like Jamie and Johnny were doing last night,
Talking about Jenny and Jack.
I don't care about y'all and y'all stupid little minions. It's like going out and trick-or-treating, like,
Dang,
man.
Dude, you sound like my friend Doug Williams.
Entrance to the occult, man. Just celebrating them bad holidays, like, no, go to sleep and look at them deer, man. It's way better. But anyways, I'm right there with you, dude. Like, right now we got cameras in Illinois that we didn't get picked up that we're going to get our buddy to pick up for us.
It's going to make us real sad.
Yeah, I know, but it's fun to look at. I
might have to buy a plane ticket.
You just might, sir. You just might have to do that.
Yeah.
Our buddy Isaac is up there in Wisconsin and kind of helps us out with that stuff. I've also been monitoring some of his Wisconsin cams for him. And did you see a guy walking around with a gun this morning? Mm-mm. And I was like, I don't think it's gun season there. I texted Isaac, and he was like, it's squirrel. It's like, are people really that serious about hunting squirrels with 7 mags up there? I don't know if they are. Dude, he had like a 14-power scope on this thing. I don't know. It didn't look like a 22 to me, but that's fine.
Yeah, we actually went up there and hunted with Isaac recently. Which Isaac, if you don't know, is he's the founder and owner of Vector Arrows. Yep. It's
Vector Custom
adult
shop.
arrows, right?
Yeah,
Aren't they?
Semi-adult.
Semi-adult, adolescent / adult arrows.
Yeah.
Casey shoots the adult version, the HMR. I shoot the adolescent version, the ZMR, which is a 500 grain arrow. I would think it's kind of heavy, but some people might call me a joke, and I've been called that before. So
depends on what sect of the populace you're talking to.
That's right, man.
Have we told the story about the guy at TAC?
Every day, man. Every day we tell it.
It's pretty funny. If you haven't heard, I hit the dead ringer on the caribou at that 111-yard shot. Real happy about it, And some guy walked down there to see it when we did. Well, a couple people did. One really cool guy was like, man, I had to come and peep at it. And I was like, man, you're cool. And we gave him some knuckles. And then you tell the story on the other guy. Because
I think the guy, how did it start out?
Something about the arc of the arrow.
Yeah, he's asking like where you were talking about, like where you aimed on the antler of the caribou or something like that. Yeah,
he was like, you're shooting a slow bow or something?
Yeah. And then you're like, actually, I'm shooting a pretty fast bow or something, whatever. I don't remember. Yeah. Actually, you weren't at the time, I don't think. But
no, I was shooting a 350.
Were you? Okay, yeah. So, and he was like, oh, well, I don't remember how it ended up, but it basically, I asked him, he said, I'm shooting a heavy arrow too, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't help myself. I had to ask him. I said, well, so what's that? About 500-600 or whatever. I don't remember what I said.
No, it went.
You probably know it better than me. I can't remember.
You usually got this. I think you've been thinking about your Mio or something.
I'm trying to kill a deer, man. Yeah. I ain't got no time for these archery guys.
This guy came up asked if I was shooting a slow bow. And I said, no, I'm just shooting pretty heavy arrow. He said, oh yeah, me too. And I had to ask, oh really? How heavy? And he said, because I knew I could already play with this guy a little bit.
No, I asked it.
You did. You did here in a second.
Yeah.
So I said, and he said, "Oh, real heavy." and Tyler said, "What, like 500 grains or so?" And he said, "Oh no, not that heavy."
It's like 440 or something.
Yeah.
Which is it's only funny because the stereotype.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Basically, the guy who's like an archery guy is typically shooting a super light, fast arrow because it helps with accuracy over distance, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it needs probably a little bit of momentum to get through a deer sometimes.
Sometimes
It'd be hard to kill a deer with paper arrow, you know what I mean?
It would be.
Or a styrofoam arrow.
Yeah. Might need to try it. I don't know.
Oh,
you get a good FOC on styrofoam arrow, I bet you.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
also can kill one with a blowgun, according to Tim Wells, right?
Yeah, I think.
So,
I don't know. He killed an elk with something like that.
bear.
Bear.
Saw him kill a bear with a blowgun.
Did he harvest the grease?
Probably.
Yeah, I bet.
Probably not.
Okay. We are jacking around a lot.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to talk about some hunt
Yeah,
stuff.
Illinois, right?
Illinois.
Vector arrows. That's where we're at. We were talking about
that's right.
the Isaac deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Isaac had invited us up to this to hunt with him this year. Basically, got us some permission on this really cool, actually about 1,000 acres on this place.
At one point in time.
Yeah, at one point in time, it was about 1,000 acres. So we go up there, we scout. We probably talked about this on the podcast. We scout, we hang cameras. We got like 6 cameras out all over this place. It's awesome. There's corn and beans on it, and like swamps and trees and like pines and all this. I mean, it's a diverse property. And it's surrounded by a lot of lowland, just thick, nasty stuff. Like, there's got to be giants in here, right? Hadn't been gun hunted in 60 years. It's been bow hunted by some guys for the last 25 or whatever. It's like 4 dudes or something.
Light pressure,
light pressure, no
Yeah.
big deal. They shoot,
They
they
hunt
all
every
shoot
once
a
in a while.
buck, you know, whatever. But like, you know, anyway, so couple, like not long before the trip, we find out that the guys are not happy that we're there. We're going to be there, and this is like in season, y'all. And a couple of them kind of throw a fit. When our contact, I don't know what to think, because I know deer hunters are weird about this stuff, so I don't know. But he seemed like he wanted to help us.
Yeah.
And but there was a couple guys that were really not having a good time with the fact that we were going to be hunting.
To make sure and drive this point home, we have permission to hunt this place.
Yeah, we actually built a horse barn.
Yeah.
So we could get permission to hunt this farm, and also our friend Isaac knows these people very well and has for years and years, and they said yes, you can hunt, and we spent time with them, and so we got permission too, just like they did. They're not paying; it's not a lease or whatever. They're just, they do work for hunting, basically, just like we did, right? Mm-hmm. So there's no difference here except for they've been there for some time. Well, they, long story short, kick us off about 80% of the farm, and the 20% that's left is, frankly, at least looking at maps and at first glance does not look that good. And after hunting it, a good chunk of that actually is true. There was night movement and some night scrapes being made on the majority of what we can hunt. Mm-hmm. But there was also a lot of the property also that we had to hunt is super inaccessible pretty much.
Yes, that's the point I was going to make, is that we had a bunch of red lines and squares and boxes marked places we couldn't go, which just meant that the places that we had access to, you could only access on like one wind direction, and that might not even be the best wind direction to even hunt the thing on.
Yeah, and let me just tell you, the smallest of the canals, I had to use hip waders, every bit of hip waders, to get across. And the rest of these canals are deeper than that are literally, blocking off huge sections, of this property. So just a overall like big downer. So KC and I start to just flip script and basically say, okay, we probably will start out here, but we got to figure out some public stuff, right? So we started doing, hit the maps and start to look at things and place some pins. We get to Illinois, or to our place in Illinois up north, and we start to do a lot of driving like we usually do in a new place, which we didn't expect to do because we thought we'd have camera data to help us on this place.
Which we did have camera data. And then we got the news shortly before we went up there that we weren't going to get to hunt a lot of this stuff. We had like shooter bucks on camera. And then Isaac went in there as a bro and moved the cameras around to places that we actually could hunt, and they stopped showing near as much action.
Yep, and that was not fun.
Yeah.
And so we also found out that a lot of the public that we thought we could hunt is not. It's like birding public, bird watching public.
Yeah. The birding public?
Not hunting public. That's it. Not the hunting public. And that was a bummer. And then we were so close to like the Wisconsin area that it kind of made sense to potentially hunt Wisconsin, but we just spent $900-something on Illinois tags between me and KC. So conundrum, you know what I mean? Not fun. This is where deer hunting can become not fun when you get this like competitive just deal, and we don't want this to be not fun. We don't want it to be competitive.
I'm not there to fight over deer, man. That's what I told
I'm there to see deer when I'm hunting.
A bunch of people, man. Like I was about ready to bow out on this thing because I just don't like this kind of stuff for a lot of reasons. Like I haven't been on leases with people outside of family members ever in my life, and I think this is part of the reason is that I just don't want to have this like, oh, this is yours over there, mine over here, and we probably need to not make sure we cross the border. You know, it's just not fun, man. And then there's also the aspect of this being people you don't know at all, so you don't know their character. Like, you don't know if they're going to respect even the agreement that you come to after the initial agreement.
Yeah.
Are they going to be in there riding four-wheelers around, messing you up? Or are they going to come in there and slash your tires in the middle of the night, or who knows worse? Or are they going to be just fine and dandy? And I would say after, like, okay, so like our contact, for all intents and purposes, seems like a pretty nice guy, but the other people, you know, with them throwing a fit over something that seemed pretty fair would lead me to believe that maybe their character was lesser than his, you know? So it's like almost a matter of safety at this point in time of like, what is really going on over here?
Yeah, or are they going to be driving four-wheelers all over the property while we're hunting, just checking their stands, quote unquote?
Yeah.
And we did come to a realization through this whole, like, hey, you can't hunt here. We're going to send you some Onyx shapes. We came to the realization that these guys are not just your regular old just for fun hunters. These dudes know what the heck they're doing, to be honest, you know. They had pins everywhere and great, you know, they spent some time on the Onyx map.
He was really organized with colors and all kinds of stuff. I was impressed with that. And, like, you know, looking back, I think we talked about this on the trip, like, I can't really blame these guys too much because it is their spot. You know, it was just a big, confusing mess as to who was allowed to do what. You know, if I had been hunting a place for a long time and all of a sudden there's new hunters on the place that I didn't really have any say in, I'd be kind of perturbed too.
Well,
you know?
and a part of what we were trying to do just to ease the social pressure was we're hunting the last week in Oklahoma in October. I wish I was hunting in Oklahoma. No, we're hunting the last week in October.
Yeah.
And that's not the greatest week. I mean,
it really isn't the greatest week
really
after our experience.
It could have been a good week. I think in a lot of years it would be probably a good week, but like the best week is for sure the first couple weeks in November. And we found that out through our contact and through our experience there. But we were trying to like fill a spot with, you know, which is the last week in October with a hunt we thought we might could go have some pretty fun hunting in, you know, way up north and, you know, have decent temps and that kind of thing and just make it work.
Yeah,
so,
a good hunt for us, but also not raining on someone else's parade.
Yeah, so we don't have to like fight over the first 2 weeks in November or whatever, you know. So that was us trying to be considerate and help. Obviously it helps us or whatever, but like, anyway, like you said, it was a point, it was kind of almost like a bow out situation. And then all of a sudden, we found out through our buddy Isaac, who is not a guy to press issues and cause issues with other people, that he had a contact with the landowner and they had worked things out. And he wasn't even trying, I don't think, really.
Yeah.
And that basically the landowner worked things out. And I don't know what happened exactly, but basically it seemed fair to the landowner that, like we've said, we all worked for permission. You know what I mean? So,
so for finally, after this is probably like day 2 or 3,
I think. Yeah,
like after the rain, right?
I think it was the night of the rain. The night of the rain.
Yeah,
that it rained all day.
The place gets opened up to us, and we have exclusive
100%
run of place for the next 3 days, pretty much, because that's when we're going to leave. Is 3 days later. So a whole lot of like stress and just extra map scouting of new stuff that really was for nothing.
Gas driving hours and hours trying to figure out the public.
Like the biggest thing that hurt on that is the resorting of the cameras, because then we didn't have like a large amount of data. Yeah, the MRI to go off of. So we're kind of hunting blind, which I do all the time. But the whole concept of this place is that it was going to be different than what we were used to. We're supposed to have like that private land feel to see what that's kind of like. We kind of work for the access to kind of, poor man style pretty much, to be able to go on this place and, to maybe not have to just do the brain squeeze to figure out where a deer is,
Yeah. So this is like, going into day 2.5, or what you might call 3. We have this exclusive access, so we start trying to kind of hunt basically places that cameras were. And, this was such a challenging hunt, man. This was like a different deal than I told you and Eric both several times probably. Like, for the first couple of days, I was like, I feel, pun intended, out of my element right now. Like, and it was literally the most perplexing I have felt while deer hunting in a long time. I literally, this is one I'm trying to use more often, but I felt more stumped than Paul Bunyan's local forest, man.
I like that too. I laugh at that every time.
I'm going to keep it going.
Yeah. By the way, I'm done whining now. Like the whining portion of this is over. Outside of like deer hunting being hard. Okay, we're not trying to make it seem like we are the
just kind of setting the scene here.
We're not the mistreated hunters out there or anything.
No.
It's just this is a realistic thing that happens to people all the time.
For sure.
But from there on, you're talking about the hunt being hard.
Yes, no, it was difficult, dude. I literally sat. I can't remember. I either sat 4 or 5 sits in a row, the first 4 or 5, without seeing a single deer in maybe the greatest place to hunt deer in the world, Northern Illinois. You know what I mean? And I didn't see a deer on a place that had corn, beans, and all kinds of brush and swamps.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind. Michael, or otherwise known as Jim Michael, if you ask Tony Peterson.
Call him Jamie.
Jamie's also a good thing. He drove 3/4 of a tank out of my truck for like 2 days and had like 3 deer sightings during prime time, like while we were hunting, prime time hours, morning and evening. He saw a buck cross the road, a doe cross the road, and then saw 8 does at one time in the back of like a bean field. Now, one of the big issues was the corn was still in a lot of places, and it was on the farm that we hunted, like incomplete pretty much. Like all of it was in. They were cutting while we were there the last couple of days, but they weren't cutting a whole lot.
Dude, I saw them out working on the combine to get it going, and I kind of went by there and gave them some rah-rah, like, you can do it, guys. Like, I went and talked to the farmer, kind of like, hey, what's y'all's plan? We got to work on it. We're going to get, oh, man, all right, that's cool. I hope you get it fixed.
Yeah, y'all got this, man. Man, it would be cool if y'all got it all out because y'all could just stop working,
Yeah.
But no, it was an issue because we've got 10-foot corn everywhere all over his farm. And, I mean, deer possibly are coming out 200 yards from you. You have no clue, whereas you would at least see them be entertained, but potentially be able to call to them, these different things. We did rattle a lot. We're very, I think, if I can speak for you, we're pretty aggressive in the rattling. You had some issues early, I guess, overall.
I broke my rattling antlers. If y'all have watched me on video, I have a set of rattling antlers I cut off of a deadhead I found. And it's like a big fork side and then a 3-point side, and they sound pretty good. I like them. They got a good, like, nice pop. Well, the 4-point side has always, the fork side has always been a little weird. Like it's like that antler didn't develop normal on the deer's head. Kind of has like a spongy look on the end of it or something. Well, what that meant is the core of that thing was kind of hollow. And I like go to rattle, and this is on film. It's probably hilarious. And don't even like hit it super hard. I just like kind of like thunk, and that tine just flies off. So I now am rattling with a spike side, and to call it rattling is just not fair.
Well,
it is like dinking around.
Luckily, I had a backup bag that Greg really likes. It's a rattling bag,
dude.
And Greg's a big fan of it.
It remains to be seen if that even works, man.
Yeah.
Have you rattled a deer in with that?
Yeah.
You have?
I think. I don't know. But
that was a
you can't,
enthusiastic
you
if you don't know.
They have to rattle it a specific way. You can't just that's like not the way to do it.
Yeah.
You have to like squeeze hard on that thing. You have to you got to give it it's specific, because if you just go to just doing the whole Play-Doh roll in your hands, like then you just are sounding like a guy who's tinkering around with something, So
yeah,
it's but you got that, and we did a lot of rattling. I don't know. For me, my part of this story, since we're already 40 minutes deep in this podcast, my part of the story is going to be real short. I didn't see any deer hardly at all. We do what we normally do and work really hard. We ended up finally just saying, you know what, we gotta get aggressive. We got like a day and a half left. We're gonna get into the woods and just bomb in, look at some stuff. You and Greg were a big part of this. We got boxed out, for lack of a better term, by waterways where we wanted to go, so we didn't get a whole lot done. But basically, I just went and said, you know what, I'm going to get as remote as I pretty much can on this property and get into some nasty, thick stuff. You guys had seen via your scouting some scrapes in that area. Mm-hmm. And so I just went into that and tried to make, best of what I could.
We've been using e-bikes a lot. We got some Kaufman e-bikes that are kind of like fairly inexpensive in the e-bike world, at least. And they're pretty nice. I mean, they get you around.
Yep.
And that actually lets us do some pretty good speed scouting, I would say. They're pretty handy for that. And that's why we found some scrapes. And we had consistent winds for 3 days straight, which is actually kind of nice. I feel like deer don't move as good on consistent winds, but at least you can like sometimes leave your stuff set up or just have a pretty good idea of like you don't have to rethink every hunt as much.
Well, October 29th, after starting deer hunting in late September, was the first day that I actually didn't have to hang a set. I was able to leave my stuff in a tree.
Yep.
So out of all the sits I've sat, I had to hang a set every time except for that day. But that was nice. But yeah, I got back there and hunted near where y'all were at, and I liked it a lot. That last morning, I was trying to kill, guys, I'll be honest, a fairly small buck. But I was like, his body was big, he had a big old thick neck, but he didn't have a huge rack.
FSB.
But I was pumped, and I was trying to call this deer in, and he was wanting it bad, but he was also ignoring me. It was weird. Like I would grunt at him, and he would turn his left ear would like turn back, but he'd just keep walking. Mm-hmm. And you hear him, but he's just doing that like come here to you tell your dog here or whatever, and he doesn't come to you, but he hears you kind of thing. And then he circled around, came out to the end of this bush. I thought he was coming right at us, and he just made a little pigtail and looped out and went. And then right after saw another 10-point. That's probably like in the 120s, and I was really stoked to smoke that deer, and I didn't get a shot. He got weird. And then that evening, this is the last evening, you and I are both kind of going to bomb into some stuff that is pretty nasty and remote and swampy, and just we're going to get into the buck bedding essentially, because that is the type of stuff that we haven't really hunted a ton of, is just getting in the thick nasty, and we aren't seeing stuff on trail cameras, so that's got to be where the bucks are, right?
Call that the buck tuck, where they're tucked back in there.
You got to tuck into the buck tuck.
Yeah.
But anyway, me and Eric go in, and I've got this plan to hunt there's this kind of open, kind of marshy grass area that I want to shoot deer in, but to get to where I can shoot them, I have to get up in a tree, and the only tree that I can really hunt, this is where I had sent Michael that morning, and he kind of showed me on the map where he was seeing a few deer going across this canal. So I have to cross this canal and go into the willow pillow, which is also known as a thick willow thicket, and it had frag grass and everything, cattails. It was just nasty in there. But I had to go like 10 yards into that to get into this willow tree, a big one, and shoot down to the other side, essentially across the canal. So we go in, of course we're making noise. There's like a no mile an hour wind, and we're making some noise as we get set up, trying to be as quiet as possible. Kind of, breaking a few of the willow limbs to try to get shots, make sure that the camera is set up and everything. And I take my release off. I'm going to put my jackets on. I usually once I cool down after like being in the tree for 10 minutes, I'm putting jackets on. So I start putting jackets on. I've got one arm in a jacket, and Eric goes, "There's a buck." I was like, "Oh no,
dang,
don't do this."
Eagle Eye saw it.
Eagle Eye he saw both the bucks on that day.
That's cool.
Before I saw him, and
I think that dude's getting better at seeing deer.
Yeah, he is.
I think he is, man.
He's learning what they look like, man. Anyway, I kind of like lift my head or lift my eyes and look at him, and I can see where he's looking. So I look my eyes that way, and I can see him. He's at 90 yards, standing broadside, looking right at us. It's a big 10, like probably 130s type of deer.
You can roll them 90 yards, can't you?
I've shot some 90s this summer and done pretty good at them, I guess.
It's not something you're going to do on a whitetail?
Nah, it was something I really wanted to do on a whitetail, actually. But I decided against it, especially since my release wasn't on.
Yeah.
I didn't want to finger shoot him.
I
didn't have my tab with me. I didn't have my tab. But anyway, I
just took that D-loop on that canine tooth.
Anyway, I got I let him, he started just kind of chilling out and looking around and stuff. So I got my jacket on and started to get my release on. Well, he gets back into his little bedding island there. And I'm like, is it? Because it's getting kind of late. This is the thing, dude. Sometimes when you film this stuff for a living, you got to film parts that take time and to do a good job, and you end up going into places later than you want or whatever. It does hurt you, man. All these people that want to film their hunts, I'm not saying don't do it, but just consider you will have less shots at deer over the career of filming hunts than.
If you want your shot on film, that's cool.
Yeah.
It probably won't cost you a whole lot. It might cost you a few deer. But if you want to be a storyteller, that's when it really starts costing you.
Yeah.
Because you got to do you got to tell everything that happened.
Yeah.
And if you want to be good at it, you do it in what you see as creative ways, and that really takes some time because you don't just document, you create.
Right. So we're creating, and it costs us time and that evening. So we're getting up pretty late.
We've been in the stand for quite a while, and you texted me and said, we're getting set up. And I was like, crap.
It took forever, too, because I had to put on, this is, I thought my story was going to be short, so sorry.
Yeah.
But,
anytime somebody says long story short, you just better just put your seatbelt on, because it's going to be a good ride.
This is my doe story right here. There's actually a buck involved.
There is, that's true.
But it's
Did you ever see a doe from the stand while we were up there?
I didn't count this really, but from literally like a mile away, I saw 3 does. Yeah. I think that was it. Yeah, weird. So anyway, going in, we had to cross this canal. I've been carrying hip waders that I bought last year, just in case. Have not used them yet. Well, this was ideal, dude, because this water came up to within like 4 inches of the crotch there. And so, but we only had one set, and luckily they're 14s. That way they fit everybody in our
Yeah, how did Eric just put his boots on inside of those? Or
yeah.
How did he make that work?
No, so what we had to do is I crossed, and he attached my pull rope, which is like 25, 30 foot. We crossed, and I attached the pull rope to me, and then he held on to it, and then he actually had to add some too. And so basically I'm attached to a rope. I pull the waders off, and I put my boots on, and then I fold them up and tie the rope on there, and he kind of holds it taut. And I basically, we do a 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to throw them up. He's going to pull the rope so that it makes sure they get over the canal, you know. And so we do a 1, 2, 3. I throw on 3. He pulls them over. I said, hey, also catch them if you can so they don't land like in the willow pillow or whatever, you know. So anyway, it worked like a charm, dude. he puts them on, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go set up the tree. So that's why it took forever, is because of that, and it was super thick or whatever. Anyway, this buck goes back into his bedding thicket, but it's late. My point in telling this is it's late enough that I'm like, is he going to actually bed back down or not? Because I didn't feel like he had time to bed back down. Well, probably 5 minutes later, he comes out the south end of this thing, and I see him getting ready to cross the same canal we're basically sitting on. And I needed to call to him, but I wasn't ready. I didn't have an arrow on the nocked. I didn't have my release fully on. I didn't have my jackets all the way on. Like I wasn't ready. And
he wasn't ready.
I guess when I was sitting there, not breathing when he stood there for like 15 minutes, I guess my throat dried out or something. Dude, I had the worst need to cough I've ever had, dude.
Not good.
And I was like, and I finally told Eric, I tried to dig in my bag, couldn't find water. I was like, I need water. Well, he gets me water finally, and it was the only thing that saved it. But when I finally got the water back to him, I was like, all right, start breaking limbs. The deer's already on our side of the canal, so it's not ideal. It's just literally straight willows and frag grass. I'm like, start breaking limbs. I'm gonna rub this tree. And I kind of got this idea because Greg had talked about raking a tree and having a buck come in at one point. He was telling a story about that,
but it didn't work.
Yeah, well, he was telling me a story about it that day.
It's a good idea.
It gave me the idea to do it. So I did it, dude. 10 minutes later, we can hear a deer coming up behind us in the swamp, straight west, and then he starts sneezing, and so I know it's a buck at this point, or a deer at this point, not a buck, but a deer for sure. And then it crosses the canal at 25 yards, and I can hear it, and it is so thick in there. This deer comes to 20 yards, can never see him, never saw him, and he stands there for like 5 minutes, leaves, goes out. And I see him like a few minutes later at about 120, 30 yards probably, going away, and it was the same buck. We had raked him in, but didn't get a shot. And so that was my evening. But I was pretty bummed because I didn't have a very good hunt, and we finally made some moves, got in there and got aggressive, and it just almost paid off, but didn't,
Yeah.
And, Michael was a big factor in me going to this place and setting up there.
Michael was a huge factor in a lot of this stuff.
Exactly right. He sat a spot the day before that, the night before that helped you out a lot.
He did, man. First of all, thanks to all our guys that help us do this stuff, Greg, Michael, and Eric. But like Eric and Greg kind of stuck with us. Michael was going to be Isaac's film guy, but Isaac had some family stuff that he had to deal with quite a bit that kind of kept him away. So Michael ended up being the man in the stand with no tag and just watching and doing observation sits. So really appreciative of him because he was a big part of my success. So the first evening we all decided we were going to push in on that north stuff. We kind of debated on where to send him, and y'all ended up hunting at the place that we thought we were going to send him, and he ended up going to a different area, kind of more on the eastern side of the property. And Dadgum saw the bucks that were our target bucks, man.
Yep.
He saw one buck that was a good one, but he didn't get any footage of it. And then he saw a broke beam that we've been watching all summer, like in a very killable place. And we're freaking out, man. We didn't see anything that night. Greg and I didn't. We're set up in a really place that Greg had a lot of confidence in. I liked it too. I think Greg just liked it because he was in a real comfortable spot in the tree. I was kind of hanging out over this lane, and it was going to be kind of sketchy for me to get a shot. But I like these kind of setups where, like, if somebody's going to be in a sketchy position, make it the shooter, not the camera guy, because it just sets the camera guy up to have success. Whereas, like, if you put the camera guy in a sketchy position where he can be seen real easy, it's just a good way for the camera guy to mess up the hunt and then him feel bad about that happening, which Greg hadn't done that yet. We actually haven't had too many issues with that the past few seasons where the camera guy kind of messes things up too much. But
Eric's good at not messing things up too.
He is, dude. He stays still.
He does, man.
And Greg does too. Greg doesn't even move when there's not deer around, dude. He's stoic.
Stoic. That's a good word, dude.
Well, I feel like he's judging me when I'm on my phone.
He is.
Dude. For sure.
He is.
Because
just like he's judging my rattle bag.
tell you something, if we ain't seen a deer in 3 days, I'm going to be on my phone, okay? But when it's still like that, I hunt with my ears more than I do my eyes, honestly. But at the same time, it was, well, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Michael sees those deer. So we decide to make aggressive moves. Normally I wouldn't do this. I would wait the 24 hours to go make the move. But he saw deer that night, and I decided to go in, Greg and I did, to go try to shoot those deer headed back to bed in the morning. And it's kind of a sketchy setup. We're in a marsh, which I'm already out of my element, right?
Yeah.
In a marsh. And decide to do this thing where like one stick high, but like really we're literally one stick high because my platform was at the same height as the top of my stick.
Yeah.
So my platform's at like probably 5.5, 6 feet, but it is so it's done that way so that I'm shooting just over the top of the tall grass, and we're actually pretty concealed.
Yeah.
We didn't see the target bucks that morning, but we did rattle in like a really cool looking 2-year-old that really, really, really wanted to
Get shot.
He wanted to get shot. He gave us the old Nat Geo footage, like just beautiful. It was actually a really cool hunt and fairly rewarding, just to get to sit there and see a buck. Like it feels good after you've had a hard hunt. But all the time while we're sitting there, we're looking at the maps, thinking about how we can make this better because right there, our closest shot is like 43 yards. I am prepared to take a longer shot than that if need be, but I really like chip shots,
Yeah.
Like last year I shot 3 bucks, the longest of which was where did I kill a deer? In South
Oklahoma,
Dakota.
South Dakota.
South Dakota, I shot a deer at like 32 or 33 last year. And then Oklahoma was at like 13 yards, and Kansas is like 8 yards. Okay, and I like those shots.
Me too.
Because it just feels good, And 45 is not that. So we decide that we have the wind, especially on an evening hunt, to go sneak in kind of from the west side as opposed to from the north side. And there's a really good stand tree we can see from there. And I've actually seen it in the summer when we went up there to scout and hang cameras. I know it's a good hunting spot. Actually, it's crazy because I picked this tree out as the first, like this is the first place on the property that I was like, I want to sit right there in that tree. And I kind of like saw that it had a nice yoke in it where, or crotch, whatever you want to call it.
That way y'all could be evenly yoked.
Yeah, we were. Actually, I like the camera guy to be a little higher yoked than me.
It's good, man. It holds you to higher standards.
That's right. But it's like, we get up like 25 foot in this tree, way up there, because we're able to. I like hunting high, but not quite that high all the time because there's usually less cover up that high. But I wanted to be able to shoot to the corn, and if you don't get that high, there's brush in front of the corn. You're never gonna.
Yeah,
you're gonna see
like 10 foot tall.
Yeah, you're gonna see the
tall.
top of a giant buck's rack and not have any shots at him.
Cry.
So yeah, we get up high, getting ready for the shot at the corn. There's also shots behind us to this thicket of marsh, and as soon as we crawl up in there, Greg's like, give me the big eyes already. He's like, there's deer right back here, rut rage, and there's deer running around back here in the marsh.
Cool.
And we can't see them, and then like. The weird thing that always happens, right? We're up in this tree, and then from like 90 yards away, a doe starts blowing, and we can't even see her. Like somehow or another, this doe out in this thicket is looking up at the sunshine and says, "Oh, look, there's something to blow at."
Yep.
It's like, why is she doing that?
We had that happen. We rattled in something and had that happen. Deer blowing at like 70 yards, man. It's weird because like there's a thing in hunting where like. If a brushy tree, let's say a willow, is far enough away from you, and also far enough away from something else that you can't see, or even not necessarily, it's more being distant from you. You can't really see through that willow tree very well. But if it's close to you, then you can see through the branches really well, and you can see deer out there. And it could be the same exact tree, right? But in the same manner, if that tree is close to that deer and far from you, that deer can see you, and you have no clue.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to us.
It's like that mesh turkey blind stuff that you put up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And that's you're probably right. That's what happened. But she blew out. But I'm convinced of a few things, and I'm learning this stuff, I think, this year pretty heavily. One, that deer sign is a joke, okay? Because we hunted like great sign this whole trip and hardly saw any deer, right? And I think everything is nighttime sign. You just got to find the place where the deer are and hunt them.
Yeah.
That's as dumb as it sounds, but it's true, okay? Like,
I like it, dude. I like it.
You got to find where the deer are and hunt them, man. And that's what we did there. Like, the bucks weren't technically bedding right there, but that's where the deer were, you know? So we found them. Michael did, and we hunted them. So the other thing is, I don't remember what it was. What was the other thing? Oh, that deer don't care about other deer blowing. Like, hardly at all. If anything, I've seen it help more than it hurts.
It helped me in Nebraska one time.
I guarantee you it helps, dude.
Yeah.
Bucks are like, I hear a doe over there. I'm going to go mess with her.
Yeah.
It's a thing, dude. It's a thing.
Yep.
And anyways, she blows and kind of spooks out, and it didn't feel good, but she didn't smell us, so I'm like, whatever. Maybe she'll bring a buck in. And then we proceed to sit there for, I don't know, about another 9 or 10 hours and not see anything. It wasn't that long, but it seems like that, you know, especially on day 5 when you just haven't seen many deer. And then we're like hearing stuff, and Greg, for the most part, is really good at hearing and seeing things, but every once in a while he'll hear something and then it doesn't develop into anything. So it's not that I don't take him seriously, but until he sees one, I'm like, you know, it's kind of like we're all this way. You hear something, but you don't see it. You just kind of take note of that being over there.
Yeah, yeah.
But then, like, when you see it, you know it's a deer.
Yeah.
He hears something over here, and I'm like, all right, cool. And it's kind of like we're facing opposite directions. So he's kind of looking back to the north. I'm looking to the south.
That way y'all can look at each other the whole time.
Right. We can stare at each other's eyes. And he hears something. I'm like, I kind of look around back there. It's like at the hardest place for me to look. You know, it's like at the 5 o'clock on the clock face for me. So real tough. So I kind of like look back and then I readjust back to where I'm at. Like, okay, just let me know if, you know, you see anything else. And Greg sees something else. I'm looking. It's really quiet. And Greg goes, giant buck right here. But he didn't yell it, but it was
shark buck.
Yeah, it pretty much was. It was like Greg has this real good way of, like, he's a pretty soft-spoken guy, right? So he can get his point across and not make a lot of noise, but still convey how excited he is, both with his eyes and
that's a musician in him, dude.
Yeah, dude. He knows how to tell a story with his fingertips, you know?
Yeah.
But he lets me know that this deer's right here, and I can see it. We have this thing we laugh about with Greg's eyes when he sees a deer, and it's really cool because I love excited people.
Me
dude.
too, man.
I'm excited about these deer.
This is exciting stuff,
and,
dude.
He's like, giant buck, 70 yards. And so I turn around. I ask him if I can move, and he says, yeah. So I turn around to look, and he's actually closer than that. Greg is used to hunting hill country deer, so his depth perception is real off anytime he's trying. He overcompensated in South Dakota, and he undercompensated on this one. It actually was like at 45, and it came out. I have no shot at
Either
this
way,
deer.
you know, when somebody just throws out a number, even if they're wrong a little bit like that, you know it's close.
You know it's not
like
200.
Don't move. You know what I mean? Like, don't make any movements.
Yeah, that's why I was like, can we move? Because I probably had grunted like within the past 15 minutes or so. So I'm wondering if this deer's looking around for us. And it still is a church mouse, you know. So it's it
was so quiet that evening,
it was very quiet. So I'm trying to, you know, make sure he's not on to us already. And this deer actually has no clue where in the world. He's just so oblivious. I turned around. Deer's at 45 yards, but we didn't get to prep any trees or anything on this place. So even though I'm in a good tree, I have limited shots just because of the way nature works, right? And there's limbs in the way, and I don't have any shot at this deer where he's at. And I'm thinking, okay, there's 2 things this deer can do, or 3 things, and 2 of them work out well for me. He's on the edge of a little waterway. He's either going to come out to this waterway, get a drink, and go down the far edge, and I'm going to have a 35-yard shot at this buck. He's going to cross the waterway where he's at and then come down the edge, which I think is option number 2. I think he's going to do the first thing. Option number 2 is cross the waterway right where he's at and then come down the edge towards us. because that would be with the wind in his face, and that would make sense. And I would have like a 15 to 20 yard shot, depending. Or he's going to cross the water and continue on about his way in his current trajectory. And I'm thinking, okay, that's probably not what he's doing, but it might be. And if that's the case, I'm going to have to grunt at him to get him to come to us, which I don't want to have to do. I love grunting in deer, but I even love it more when they come by and you don't have to mess with them. You can just shoot them when they're calm, you know? That's real nice. Well, this deer goes out, and we get the Nat Geo stuff again. Like, it's like the obelisk in Washington, D.C., reflection pond type stuff, man. It is sweet. And
y'all wait, y'all see.
He crosses the water and then continues on his current trajectory. Crap. I'm going to have to call this deer in. He's going to know that this grunt call came from 25 feet up a tree because it's so quiet. And I can't see him at all now because he's just at a spot where I can't see. I also can't move to see him because it's so still. So I have to look at Greg. I have my grunt call out, and I give him a pap, just a bap. And Greg says he heard it. Well, then, as soon as he hears it, he starts throwing his head back in the air trying to smell because he's almost upwind of us. We still have a little bit on him, but it's so light that it can be swirly at this point in time. And I think that probably what saved us is just the fact that the wind was falling down to that water. But, it's kind of sucking down there at the base of our tree, so we weren't getting wind to him. And to shorten this up a little bit, we have pretty much a 20-minute standoff with this deer. And I bet for 15 of that, the deer doesn't move. I grunt at him 3 different times, and finally he takes a step in our direction, and Greg's giving me like he took a step. I'm like, really? It's getting cool.
Ooh,
and Greg he's a good hunter, man.
Gunter. He
doesn't want to mislead you if he's telling you something, so like he's very cautious with the he's coming this way, like he definitely didn't tell me too soon. But finally the deer starts to commit. After about 15 minutes, he wants to come check out that grunt and turns around, does about a 180 to come down the edge of the waterway on the near side to us. And Greg does say he's coming this way, and I say, can I move? And Greg gives me the hastily, yes, get ready. And then that's freak out time for sure, right? Because I thought this is a wing and a prayer, what I mean, at this point in time. Well, this deer has us pretty much made out where the sound should be. And they do this thing, man. They are so good at just living as deer.
Yeah.
God made them just real good at being deer, man. They are good at it.
Yep.
And he knows where this grunt call's coming from. He doesn't know it's up in the tree, I don't think, because I'm turning away from him and making pretty soft sounds. Mm-hmm. So but he knows about how far it was from him. And he gets to where he thinks he should be able to see the deer and locks up behind this bush. I ain't got no shot. I then have my bow in my hand. My grunt call is in my pocket. And I have no chance to range this deer, but I've ranged some stuff in the general area. I think I have an idea of how far away he is. And he takes, finally, 3 or 4 minutes later, takes 2 steps forward, and I somewhat have a clear frontal shot. And I'm shooting a fixed blade in this situation. Isaac makes a fixed blade broadhead that I kind of like. It's real sharp. It's a neat idea. I shot a pig with it a little while ago, and it worked real good. If they fly, amazing. Actually. It's one of the really nice qualities of them. And I was like, you know what? I'm shooting big old body deer up here. I'm going to shoot that fixed blade at these deer just to try it out because I have confidence in it after shooting the pig. So I say all that to say that, I don't want to shoot through brush, but I do know that if I actually accidentally clip a twig, it's not going to open a mechanical and just send me to oblivion, right? And so got my bow in my hand. I'm in the worst position possible in the saddle. Just leaned way out at the 5 o'clock position. I'm doing this thing, and if you've hunted much, you probably know, but if you try to look real hard at your periphery for a long time, you get dizzy. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you mean.
I'm doing this thing where I'm looking at the deer real hard and then I get real dizzy, so I have to
look straight forward. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. I have to look straight forward for 20 seconds.
It's you know how they tell you your eyes, if you cross your eyes, will get stuck?
Happening.
That's exactly
They're getting
it, dude.
stuck, dude. And so And he's just locked up, and he's staying there forever. And we're probably 4 minutes into the standoff of him in this final position here. And I tell Greg, I don't think he can hear me, but he says he knows what I said just because he can tell how uncomfortable I am.
Yep.
And I'm telling him I'm just going to have to draw and try to shoot this deer. Right after I tell him that, my grunt call precariously falls from my pocket to the ground, straight down. It doesn't clink, clink, clink anything. It just falls straight down on the ground. The deer has made Greg and I in the tree, by the way, because we're two big blobs up there, above the skyline. And he's just looking at us. He doesn't really know what we are. He's not super concerned, but he's just like, what is going on up there?
Yeah.
And then he looks down at the base of the tree because the grunt call falls. Well, looks like I have an opportunity. So I draw my bow. He doesn't even move or notice. And I'm like, I can't believe this is working. There's no way. Well, not only does he not notice, he gives me plenty of time to make sure my bubble's level, make sure my tee is pretty good, I'm anchored good. And I'm like, I'm about to shoot this deer at 33 yards, and this is going to work. I can't believe this. So I kind of have a relaxation moment because a little hindsight, I rushed a shot about a week before this. So I kind of am a little conscious of this situation, making sure that I have all my form right. And I decide that it's time to take a shot. Start to squeeze the trigger. Bow goes off. Arrow flight looks good. But the arrow does not drop into the pocket like I expect it to. And this is where, okay, we're probably going to do some laughing and stuff because we like to have fun, guys, but this is not an ideal shot. I'm not super happy with it, but it was effective. I thought this deer was at 33, and the deer was probably more at 20. And I'm sorry I made such an inaccurate judgment at distance, but it's going to happen in archery, and you know what? Before about 2006, that's how everybody was shooting bows, you didn't use a rangefinder and stuff. So at least I had some bearing on it. But what happened was I was so high in the tree, the deer's such a large-bodied deer compared to what we hunt in East Texas, I'm just all out of whack. I'm thinking he's at 33, he's at 20. So if he would have been at 33, my then 30-yard pin would have absolutely smoked him. But he's at 20. And I shot this deer in the throat, in the neck.
Throat patch. As we call it.
And it's it was stunningly effective.
Yes, it was. I'm thinking about aiming there from now on.
Dude, I wouldn't, but you
Just
could.
kidding, y'all. Don't take off of that, please.
No, yeah. It instantly, he's bleeding. I don't realize how high the shot is. I just know that I didn't quite hit down into the good stuff. But I'm thinking, Brendan's calling me right now. I need to call him back.
Speaking of throat patches.
Throat patch, that's him. He's got one, dude. Do you know about it? Yep. His birthmark? Dadgummit, that's where it came from. Funny that he's calling right now. Yep. Instantly, he's bleeding. He, kind of has the halfway spine hit type thing reaction where he kind of goes to flopping real quick. And I'm, in shock. And Greg's like, get another arrow. I was like, oh, good idea.
Yep. Yeah,
oh, my goodness.
That's like me with the pigs.
Yeah.
Last year when I shot that one, and you were like, get another arrow. I was like, oh, great idea.
Yeah, there's more than one shot to be had.
Yeah.
Well, then this deer flops out in the waterway, and it looks like Shark Week. I'm not kidding. Part of me wishes I could have just sat back and just watched as opposed to hustle and try to get an arrow and shoot this deer.
Take inches off his antlers and stuff.
So to use Tyler's famous phrase, long story short, I fling 2 more arrows at this deer, and the only hitting I do is I knock the very end of his G2 off on his left side, or his right side, with a broadhead. Yeah. So that was ineffective, but that actually spooked him a little bit, and he got up and ran another 5 yards onto some drier ground, and that is where he expired. Probably 60 yards from us in the tree. And Greg and I are freaking out. We know the shot isn't perfectly ideal, so we're a little concerned. Mm-hmm. So we're being real quiet. There's still probably 30 minutes left in daylight, so we watched him the whole time. He doesn't move. But again, still concerned, and I'm now overly cautious about deer getting up or not being completely dead and all that kind of stuff, which is probably the better side of the scale to be on. So we get down out of the tree very quietly, go meet y'all. You know, I text y'all and tell you, hey, I shot a buck. Think he's dead, but, you know, we need to make sure we get everybody together, go on recovery. Michael, again, Mr. Selfless. He wasn't very happy about it, but he was still selfless. He got to be the man who went and got the game cart because we forgot that at camp. And we go on a recovery, and sure enough, there's a big
old dead monster buck, man.
Yeah, big dead monster buck over there. And we got to recover that sucker, man.
Yeah.
It was pretty good time.
Yeah.
I was very, very elated.
Recovery was cool, man. Like, dragging one out of the swamp's kind of cool.
It is cool,
you know what I mean?
man.
It's like one of those things you kind of dream about. It's a weird deal. It's kind of like more than anything, it's like a man thing to do. You know, it's like
a man.
You feel like a man when you pull one out of this nasty swamp.
I know, dude.
You know?
I was just like funneling my inner, what's his name? Oh, Fuzz?
Dan Infall.
Dan Infall, you know, just grabbing them by the antler and dragging them through the marsh. And it was cool. It was a great night, exciting time. Still stressful because it's the last night we're there. We're like trying to leave early in the morning. And
instead, we just got back to the hotel early in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. We got us a little bit of sleep and then had a super long drive home.
Oof.
But I was very thankful for the opportunity to shoot the deer. Definitely a deer I'm like super stoked to leave Illinois with. Like, he's not a chump, you know. Like, he's a big necked, has some mass, like some good stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's the story, Illinois, guys. I do believe Tyler has found a sandwich shop that we're going to stop and eat, if I'm guessing.
Real quick, before we eat sandwiches, I want to just give people a couple things. I want to give them some RUT tactic tips.
Okay.
Because I know you got a hot tip.
I got a hot tip.
Yeah, and then I also want to say that video is one of the ones that will come out on the Meat Eater platform in the summer fall of next year, so 2023. So you won't be seeing it anytime soon, but you heard the story. We did as good as we could to detail that whole thing out, and then the footage is going to be insane. Greg killed it. KC did a great job.
I also killed it.
You also killed him right in the neck, right in the throat patch, and then and so let's talk real quick about a couple of RUT tips or thoughts that we have going into this, because we want people to also kill it when they go out this next week or so. And just, man, I just can't wait to kind of see you guys off and see some of the success that you have going forward. Send us pictures when you kill deer on these tactics. So, hot tip, KC, let's hear it.
I got a couple, so we're going to do a hot tip off. You do one, I do one.
Right,
I'll start. My first hot tip is go off of the observations. Look for the deer you're trying to kill and go find him and shoot him. Don't go off a sign, okay? Like, it's the rut. These things are laying down sign every 5 feet. Now, there is always exceptions to this, and I get it, but I can promise you this. You find a decent scrape, you're going to sit over it, and it's going to take you 5 or 6 days before you kill a deer over that. And if you're that kind of guy, do it. That's totally cool. I'm not that kind of guy. I don't like to take the right turn. I took the wrong turn, but it's right there.
We'll get there.
But what I really mean to say is I don't like to just sit the same stand. I want to be trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
And I would say the best way to figure stuff out is to use your eyes to observe deer. Figure out where the does are moving, what they're moving to. Figure out where the bucks are going, like why they're hooking this way or that way, and go sit up on that visual observation and kill a deer.
On the same note, KC, my hot tip is, and this is derived from something I was talking about earlier on a live Instagram video, but don't be afraid to scout during the rut. Get what they call boots on the ground, dirt under your boots, walk the earth, get out there and try to find that hot sign, not just see it from a tree stand necessarily, but get out there, because what's going to end up happening, guys, it don't matter if you walk into the biggest buck's home range on November 7th, there's a pretty high chance he ain't going to be there.
There's also a good chance that if you spook him, he is at a high level of not caring.
He does not care.
Yeah.
A lot of times. I'm not saying that you're not going to mess things up when you do that sometimes, but I'm just saying this is the time to be as aggressive as you ever have. Go in there, find where a big buck lives, and kill him. Yeah. And kill him right then if he's there.
Kill him right then and there, man. That's a good tip. My next tip is All about agriculture, okay? Deer like to eat ag.
Colette
okay?
AAA, all about agriculture.
Yeah, all about agriculture, that's right. There's about 4 things that I look for that deer eat. That's corn, beans, alfalfa, and wheat. Corn and beans are seasonal, and so is wheat. Alfalfa is a perennial. You'll have a field of alfalfa all year long, but there's a shift this time of year where corn and beans are kind of going out for the most part, and then wheat is coming in. It's called winter wheat, okay? Deer really like winter wheat. They like to eat that green stuff whenever it's cold, man. They love it, okay? You can predict how much winter wheat there will be in a certain area by wheat futures. That is a agriculture term for like how much the stock of wheat is worth coming up in the coming up season. They like have these predictions, right? Wheat futures are high right now. That means that there will be more winter wheat this winter than what there is on a low futures year.
Yep.
So look at the futures and figure out how limited of a resource that winter wheat is going to be.
Yeah. The Bible, and therefore people, like things in threes, and that's 3 tips. So we're going to kind of leave that at that.
All right.
But I will say that in regards to the wheat thing you're talking about, don't ride off a field that looks like dirt, because sometimes there's little weeds coming up in it, and the deer will still eat them when they're little. So that is your tip. Don't forget that the Texas Public Land Hunt is coming out on our YouTube channel here this week sometime, first week in November. We're going to do our best to get it out as we go in and out of hunting and those kind of things. And don't forget, remember, same thing, this is your element.
BBD.
As you know, the Meat Eater Live Tour is on April 23rd through May 5th. Chances are in a town near you. What you may not know is you can win tickets to each of these events just by going to a backcountry hunters and anglers pint night. There's going to be a pint night in each of these towns: San Diego, Salt Lake City, Tempe, Anaheim, Boise, Sacramento, Missoula, Portland, Tacoma, where you can compete in Meat Eater trivia and win not only tickets to the show, but a chance to be on stage with all of us. So get your butt to a pint night, and we'll see you on stage.